I help society out a lot.
How?
Do you see how many I drain? How many that have been emptied out on my face? How many I've taken and scooped it out?
And how does that help society?
Workers help, like, reduce rates by over 30%.
That sound like a stat you just made up.
No,
Google it.
that's probably true. Mental health, it's good for mental health as well. It stops men themselves. It's an important part of the world.
Are you saying that because you had a webcam business?
I'm saying that because it's absolutely and utterly true.
Bonnie Blue and Andrew Tate did a podcast together. And yes, it's exactly as unbearable as it sounds. Bonnie, who treats "I don't work 9 to 5" like it's a philosophical statement, and Tate, who talks like a vape pen, grew arms and discovered Twitter, somehow ended up in the same room exchanging what they probably think are ideas. It's not even a conversation, it's two egos bouncing off each other in a vacuum. No insight, no depth, just noise. And the timing, even worse. We're on the brink of World War III, GTA 6 still isn't out, and this is what the universe gives us? By the first minute, this isn't just cringe, it's historic cringe. A cultural accident, a reminder that clout doesn't discriminate, it'll platform anyone as long as they're loud enough.
I'm just a clever.
You are the perfect end result of feminism. That's destructive.
By the time you finish calling me, I'm going to leave this chair with a wet patch.
Rob, the world's bring the asteroid.
Right off the bat, Tate does what he does best. Talking in confident circles that go absolutely nowhere. He opens with a full throttle brain fart about how feminism has failed women, like he's been waiting his whole life to blame someone else for his personality. According to him, the final boss of feminism is women f***ing around, because in his caveman logic, women were only worth marrying when they were obedient virgins. Yes, that's the hill he's dying on. It's always the guy with 4 pending charges and a podcast mic who wants to lecture women on puberty. He speaks like feminism personally rejected him from a high school dance, and he's never recovered. And somehow he delivers this nonsense with the conviction of a man solving world hunger. Except all he's solving is how fast one human can regress 200 years in under a minute.
Choice, right? This is the world we now live in. This is the end result of feminism. You are the perfect end result of feminism. In the world I believe in the conservative, traditionally masculinely ruled world, a man would be in charge of his daughters until they're handed over to their husbands or boyfriends, and there would be a degree of masculine guidance. But feminism didn't want that. Women complained that men don't want to get married. We did actually want to get married when we got obedient, but they disappeared, and they complained about the patriarchy, and they were tired of us giving them a house to live in and to raise, and they wanted to make their own choices.
Humpty Tate then shifts gears into what he clearly thinks is a philosophical breakthrough, talking about how society needs to be viewed from an animalistic perspective. First of all, dog, why? What's the point of having a frontal lobe if your dream lifestyle is sleep, defecate, breed, repeat? That ain't deep. That's literally the life of a stray cat. He starts ranting about how it's a man's instinct to impregnate as many women as possible, like his biology personally sent him a PowerPoint. But the moment you mention spending time with your suddenly you're gay, soft, emasculated. Make it make sense. He wants to breed like a lion, abandon like a wolf, and raise like no one. It's not animal instinct, it's emotional bankruptcy with a beard and Wi-Fi. And he raps it all in this fake intellectual tone like he's cracked the code of masculinity, when really, he's just glorifying neglect and culling in nature.
No, but it's interesting because you have to look at society. When you look at these things, you have to look at society from an animalistic perspective and a societal perspective. From the animalistic perspective, it is the masculine imperative to get as many women as possible.
Yeah, but
If you want to be purely
it's
animalistic.
not 1512.
No, but let's
Andrew.
be purely animalistic. Let's talk about this like professionals. If a man is high value, high testosterone, alpha male, whatever you want to call him, right? His imperative is to empower women. And he wants to take care of those women and take care of those. He's not overly interested in the kids. It doesn't mean he doesn't love them. It means he doesn't want to sit there and play with them all day. When you see a man who wants to play with a baby all day, that man is probably boring.
Well,
So,
it doesn't mean he wants.
No, he's
Next up, Bonnie over 9,000 Bodies Blue gets hit with the most basic question of the entire podcast. Do you think Andrew Tate is guilty of the charges against him? And she responds with Olympic level brain rot. I don't think so. He gets enough. Why would he go through the trouble of R-wording someone and causing legal trouble? Let's break that down. So by that logic, if someone has money, they can't be a thief? If someone already has an identity, they can't take yours? You know what? I agree. Your Honor, that man could have never said the hard R because he hangs out with people every day. What's going on, y'all? You didn't just fumble the bag. You fumbled feminism, law, and basic moral reasoning in one breath. You set the entire gender back to the Stone Age and then threw rocks at yourself. And of course, Tate immediately crowns her the smartest woman he's ever met. Because in Tate world, intelligence isn't about critical thought. It's about glazing him up until your brain evaporates. There was no conversation here. It's mutual delusion disguised as insight, and it's painful to watch in the same way it's painful to watch someone confidently walk into traffic. Then the man has what can only be described as a divine delusion. Out of nowhere, he starts justifying through religion. Not one, not two, but every religion he can name drop without understanding. According to him, all religions tell women to not over themselves, and society is to blame for letting them do it. Real pious stuff coming from a man whose life mission is turning every conversation into a rap verse about stacking and f***ing bitches. So, Mr. Baldy, I have two very simple questions. When you constantly brag about accounts, objectify women on every platform you touch, and publicly measure a man's worth by how many women he slept with, aren't you literally the embodiment of the society you say over woman? In every religion you love referencing, are their commandments only limited to women? What about cursing, cheating, lying, being prideful, and treating people like objects? The commandments that also mention men, do they not apply to you? Or are we just picking and choosing? Because what I'm witnessing is the exact same cherry-picking techniques slave owners used to use by taking scriptures completely out of context to misrepresent them and justify what they already knew was wrong because it benefited them. And this is how far we've regressed as a society. We're just weaponizing hypocrisy with Bugatti fetishes.
I mean, the holy books have a whole bunch of lessons to be learned. And I would argue that one of the primary objectives of religion, all religions, since the dawn of time, has been trying to protect society from female sex, because female sex is unchecked, unlike male. Female sex, if it goes unchecked, results in some degree of chaos. All religions are telling women not to be overly for a reason, because they know how society ends. That's why I said earlier we're in the end times. So how would God judge Bonnie? I don't know. Would he judge her? Or would he judge the society which created her? I'm not sure.
And then the brain duo spiral into a conversation about cancellation. And somehow it's even worse than you'd expect. Tate, with the grace of a man who's never read a single room in his life, jokes about his charges. You heard that right. He literally turns one of the most serious accusations imaginable into a punchline. Like he's not facing real legal proceedings, like this is just some banter between reps at a gym locker room. But somehow, Bonnie Blue manages to one-up Tate. Yeah, let that cook for a second. That's a sentence I never thought I'd say either. She starts venting about being falsely called a because everyone I with is a girl. Like, are you okay? Genuinely? Because what you're saying is the moment someone turns 18, they magically gain the emotional maturity, life experience, and critical reasoning to match you, a fully grown adult? You're telling me that a fresh 18-year-old who's most likely still in high school is totally on par with someone in their mid to late 20s who knows exactly how to gaslight, and dodge accountability? No, Bonnie. Legality does not cancel out predatory behavior. A 26-year-old dating an 18-year-old isn't proof of innocence. It's a red flag just in a birthday hat. And then she doubles down, claiming that calling this is confusing the younger generation, and that everyone will cry R-word if they are Bonnie, if a 30-year-old emotionally corners an into sex, even if there's no physical force, that is grooming. And in many cases, it's also fault, depending on the circumstances. This isn't confusing the younger generation, it's protecting them from people like you.
Bonnie, I know you would never cry, but somehow I'd end up with a charge for touching you. I don't know, they'd say, I forced you to do it. Nah, no.
People always say I belong in prison. When I see like TikToks, they're like, how is she not in jail? She's she's a groomer. And I'm like, everyone is everyone they're consenting to it, and I'm like, how the am I meant to get arrested for that? And if you're saying that's promoting culture, then how confusing is that for the generation? Because if they're thinking consensual sex is, how many more times are they going to cry when that was also consensual? Because if you're saying and I prove all the time everything's consensual and above board, then how confusing is that?
Bro actually sits there, dead ass, and says he's given up on trying to save the world. Like he hasn't already left enough collateral damage behind to fuel a century's worth of therapy bills. Tate, you're not a misunderstood hero laying down the sword. You're a walking PR disaster trying to rebrand after setting the house on fire and acting like you just lit a candle. And then in a plot twist no one asked for, he claims he's pro-feminist. Which coming from him is like hearing a chainsaw say it supports tree growth. He doesn't know a single wave of feminism, doesn't mention equality, autonomy, or literally any of the core ideas. Just spins it into some warped version of real men protect women because they're weak and need guidance. So basically, I support women as long as they stay in line and do what I want. That's not feminism, that's misogyny with a fresh coat of fake virtue paint. And it flicks off the second he opens his mouth.
But once again, what does it matter what I think? Rob, I've given up. Rob, I've given up trying to save the world. I've given up. No, Rob, I've given up.
Haven't.
I've given up on misogyny and all this shit.
No, you haven't.
They attacked me with the Matrix. They keep throwing me in jail. I am now all for women empowerment. I think women should run around as many men as they want. I like what Bonnie's doing. She's getting the bag. She's getting rich. Most girls out here don't want to have kids. They just want to get Birkin bags and Instagram likes. Good. I'm a feminist, a pro-feminism. This is the world now. How the world's gonna end up, who cares about the future?
Y'all know what time it is. Time to see what the internet had to say about this brain-dead circus. I'm a clear example of what women have fought for years. Bonnie Blue, 2025. It's giving self-inflicted irony speedrun. No further roast is even needed. She handed the torch to the comment section and lit herself up. Might just be the most unintentionally accurate critique of her entire platform. She's not the result of feminism. She's what feminism has been fighting off. My man Rob's sitting there literally questioning his existence during this entire podcast. Bro looked like he was buffering in real life. Eyes glazed, soul evaporated. He wasn't just questioning the conversation, he was questioning reality itself. The whole point of evolution is to become better, not worse. Yeah. Bonnie somehow took 1 billion years of human progress and said, nah, let's re-roll. She's far from breaking the cycle. She's spinning it backwards, trying to justify self-disrespect like it's empowerment, all while spreading beliefs that would make even Darwin hit unsubscribe. Bonnie Blue and Andrew Tate's podcast wasn't a conversation. It was a delusional spiral with microphones. Tate blamed feminism for women having autonomy, preached animal instincts like a rejected zoo exhibit, and used religion to justify his own misogyny. And Bonnie somehow made it worse, defending with barely legal and claiming that calling it is confusing the youth. Together, they managed to downplay, glorify manipulation, and spin ignorance as wisdom. It's not just the worst podcast of the year, it's a masterclass in how clout builds critical thinking.